Tonight on Election Eve, we bring you extensive coverage on who's running from the Spencer Gulf and what they stand for, as well as a reminder on how to vote on polling day.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. Residents across South Australia are preparing to go to the polls tomorrow, with a number of seats in our region potentially playing a role in who ends up in state parliament. With a full overview, here's John Hunt.
South Australia's election is going down to the wire. The Liberals want another term, while Labor are aiming to return to government after just 4 years. And a few seats in the Spencer Gulf could decide which way that result swings. 47 seats are up for grabs in the House of Assembly, with 24 needed for a majority. We start our preview with Flinders. Based around Port Lincoln, it's been firmly Conservative since created in the 1850s. It's the Liberals' safest seat, with a near impossible swing required. Peter Treloar has retired, with the Liberal candidate Tumby Bay Mayor Sam Telfer all but assured to take his place. Labor have pre-selected Sarah Tynan, while in an odd move, the Nationals are contesting this seat, Lillian Pointner their candidate. Moving over to FROME now, which has lost the Labor-leaning Port Pirie. Formerly with Jeff Brock, it's looking for a new MP, with the Liberals heavily favoured. Former government staffer Penny Pratt is their candidate and is a likely winner. Back across the Gulf is the Labor-held GILES. The Wyler-based electorate has also changed, gaining West Port Augusta. That move strengthening their hold. The swing needed now more than 14%. Current MP Eddie Hughes is expected to retain the seat, ahead of the Liberals' Graham Taylor. SA Best are also contesting with 2018 candidate Tom Antonio, but without the Xenophon factor, it's an unlikely win. Now a seat that could change things, NARUNGGA. It's Liberal heartland, with Fraser Ellis holding it by a healthy margin. But Mr Ellis is now an independent due to a court case, with his old party selecting Tom Michael. Well-known local advocate Diana Walter is also running as an independent. Mr Ellis is popular, so win or lose, the result here will have ramifications. And finally to Stuart. This electorate has changed a lot, losing Port Augusta West and gaining Port Pirie. Deputy Premier Dan Van Hulst Pelican on paper holds it comfortably, but he is facing a huge challenge. The addition of Port Pirie bringing popular independent Jeff Brock into the race, setting up a fascinating contest. Preferences from Labor's Andrew Wright likely to be crucial. If the Liberals lose this seat, retaining government will be hard. And your local news team will be all over the result. Join us on Monday for a full wrap of Election 2022.
The changes to electoral lines have turned the Upper Spencer Gulf into key political battlegrounds. With much to gain and lose, anticipation and nerves are running high amongst candidates. Our reporter Edward McCarroll spoke to some to gauge how they're holding up.
With the election one sleep away, I spoke to our region's candidates to find out how they're feeling.
To me, it's been a wonderful experience again. This is my fifth campaign, my fifth election, and you learn every day from talking to people out here.
I'm the new kid on the block, but look, for me it's been a learning experience.
Each candidate aware it's likely to be a close race.
I don't underestimate the challenge that's in front of me. One foot in front of the other, do my very, very best work.
Everyone has a choice this election, and hopefully they'll choose their health over a city basketball stadium.
I'm optimistic, I'm not a pessimist. All I can do is rely on the people to have faith in me.
Candidates say the redrawing of electoral lines means tomorrow the Iron Triangle's political landscape will be changed forever.
If you vote for 2 independents, we will have a strong voice in Parliament. We will get things done.
It would be completely unacceptable to them to have the west side of Port Augusta run out of Whyalla and the east side of Port Augusta run out of Port Pirie.
All preparing for a busy day tomorrow, battling on till the very last vote is cast.
All day tomorrow and tomorrow evening I will be in both Port Augusta and Port Pirie. I'll be back and forth, dividing my time evenly as I should.
I'm looking forward to the end of it. I'm looking forward to Saturday night, be able to sit down and just relax with my volunteers and my family and just, I think I'll probably be asleep by 8 o'clock at night.
Candidates are well and truly in election mode, with how to vote cards at the ready. But have they done enough to sway voters?
The race for the seat of Flinders is also reaching its final stages, with many candidates making last-minute efforts to sway voters. Locals aren't wasting any time, with the early polls in Port Lincoln already filling up.
The eve of the election seeing candidates rally at the forefront of the polls. All parties making a late plea, staking reasons why they should become the voice of the community.
Well, I can tell you that I'm definitely here for the farmers, the fishermen and the families of Flinders, and I'm hoping to be able to work with all of them if I get elected. I want to make sure that I can get the doctors here.
I'll be one that's going to be advocating for stronger investment into regional health, our regional education and our infrastructure. Our roads and accompanying infrastructure are really key for us.
Independent candidate Liz Harberman also having her say.
It's things like mental health and rehab for drug and alcohol and all that sort of stuff that I knew was an issue, but that people are really hurting and they're not being heard.
The Nationals candidate saying the new strain of COVID is making it hard for those in the regions to vote.
The Electoral Commission has had a couple of years to be able to put a strategic plan in place to cover those people and get them to vote. They want to vote.
Early polls already seeing a high intake of voters. The fate of the seat of Flinders now up to the people of the Eyre Peninsula.
The choice in Flinders is pretty clear, really. I'm the option which actually has the opportunity to be an active part of government, someone who knows the region well.
As an independent, you know, I don't have to rely on a party. I actually get to talk for the people and fight for them.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Voting in elections plays a key role in the running of democracy in South Australia. Whether you're a first-time voter or someone in need of a refresher, here's Mark Zeta with a reminder of how to vote tomorrow.
With 3 levels of government, it can get confusing remembering how to vote when elections come around. Here's a refresher on what to do when you go to the polls tomorrow.
When you arrive at the polling booth tomorrow, make sure you get your name ticked off the roll. You'll then receive 2 ballot papers, a green one for the House of Assembly and a white one for the Legislative Council. With the green paper, you number your candidates in the order of preferences starting with 1, making sure you number every box. The Legislative Council ballot is like a Senate one for a federal election. You can vote above the red line where you place a preference number next to a party group, or you can vote below the line by voting for a minimum of 12 individual candidates. Once you're done, place your slips in the respective ballot boxes.
Remember, voting is compulsory in South Australia. To find your nearest booth, visit the Electoral Commission's website.
More on the election still to come. The Deputy Premier promises more funds for a hydrogen project. And an independent candidate calls out ambulance ramping on the Copper Coast. Welcome back. The Deputy Premier is putting one last pledge on his campaign trail, promising an extra $15 million for the hydrogen facility at the smelters. The extra money would be used to speed up the development plans so the project can begin next year.
I do not want to wait until the front-end engineering and design work is complete at the end of this year and then start a process of trying to determine where does the money come from.
The facility would help the smelters reach their target to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030. Independent candidate Diana Walter is putting the Wallaroo Hospital as her top priority. If elected, she promises to fix the ongoing ambulance ramping issues, saying the region continues to deal with long waiting times.
It's the issue affecting the whole state. Patients reportedly waiting hours ramped at hospitals, paramedics feeling overworked and exhausted. Independent candidate Diana Walter says if she's elected in the seat of Narunggga, she will hold the state government accountable to make sure the Copper Coast is equipped with more ambulances.
I would go a step further and I would ask for not 1 but 2 community paramedics here on Yorke Peninsula, but also 1 step further still, make sure that we can actually bolster that during peak holiday seasons and during our busiest times.
The long weekend saw 1 paramedic servicing the whole Yorke Peninsula, leaving people no choice but to drive to the hospital instead of calling 000.
They believe strongly that they're going to have a better chance of getting their loved ones seen to in a far quicker time frame if they transport them themselves. That in itself is hugely dangerous and not advised.
Although the Ambulance Employees Association is happy with the opposition's pledge to bring more paramedics into regional areas.
Along with their commitments came along with 24/7 paramedic coverage to Wallaroo and the Yorke Peninsula, additional ambulances in Peterborough, Whyalla and Augusta.
Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Businesses, families and the Port Augusta community as a whole are suffering from the effects of prolonged antisocial behaviour in the city. With multiple competing politicians pitching solutions to the community, Aboriginal leaders want to make sure they're included in the newly elected MPs' plans.
On the eve of the election, stopping antisocial behaviour remains a top priority for Port Augusta.
There are tourists that are coming through Port Augusta. It won't stop here because of the antisocial behaviour.
The South Australian Aboriginal Action Group speaking up to make sure First Nation views are not lost in the political noise this weekend.
These issues are only being exacerbated because of COVID. We've always had visitors to the city.
The group says it wants to see more money allocated to fixing the problem at the grassroots level.
Local services are strained without resources, so if there was more resourcing to the area.
Saying this can be achieved by bureaucrats taking a step back and listening to the community.
This is where we want to say enough with shelving recommendations, start listening to our local Aboriginal people.
We need to actually look at the local groups here, the Aboriginal groups and the local businesses, and get them to be able to be part of this.
The Deputy Premier agreeing consultation is important, but saying while other candidates have been talking, he has been making progress.
43 people have already gone home through some government programs that we've initiated through our Port Augusta Responsible Communities program.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The RSPCA has outlined what it wants to see from the political parties in tomorrow's election. The organisation's sending surveys to politicians to gauge where they stand on the issues of animal welfare and safety.
Making sure the welfare of the state's animals is front and centre in tomorrow's election. The RSPCA conducting a survey of political parties and their position when it comes to animal welfare issues.
We look for every party to have some sort of policy position on animal welfare. It's an incredibly important topic for a lot of South Australians.
The organisation highlighting how South Australians do care about their animals and their welfare. The survey asking specific questions in regards to what the RSPCA believes are important issues needed to be addressed.
We've prioritised 7 key animal welfare topics. We really do try to reflect broad community opinions on what is important in terms of animal welfare.
On the issue of improving animal protection by amending the Animal Welfare Act, the Liberals stated they will review the Act to bring it up to modern standard. Meanwhile, Labor also promises to do the same if they're elected into power.
RSPCA is strictly a non-partisan organisation, so we don't pass any commentary on what the party's individual positions are.
You can read each party's full statements on the RSPCA's website. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The day's other news after the break: 4 men allegedly trespassed on defence land near Whyalla, and Broken Hill filmmakers urged to enter an upcoming festival. Hello again. To today's other news now, and 4 men have been arrested after allegedly trespassing on Defence Force land north of Whyalla. Police say last month 4 vehicles were captured on CCTV, allegedly driving on restricted land near Iron Knob. They were later identified by police and received an adult caution for trespass. Business Far West has officially launched in Broken Hill. The network is aiming to be a united voice for all small businesses, including those located in towns like Menindee and Silverton. The Small Business Minister sensing the passion of those in attendance.
You can absolutely see the passion that people feel for their local community as you move around and engage with locals.
We've had Foundation Broken Hill and Broken Hill City Council come together and both provide seed funding for us to run through for the next 12 months.
After receiving funding from Council and Foundation Broken Hill, the group will be holding events each month with guest speakers. For more information, visit their Facebook page. A spend of $350,000 will go towards boosting nature-based experiences across the regions. 2 environmentally focused experiences getting a boost, supporting Eyre Peninsula activities.
Another 2 projects are going to be funded through the Nature-Based Tourism grant. So that's Carter and Bell for some glamping tents out at the National Park. And also Yambala at Coffin Bay. They do really beautiful food experience in nature.
The projects are aiming to bring community and economic benefits while preserving conservation in the regions. The Perfect Light Film Festival is returning to Broken Hill next month, ready to showcase local filmmaking talent. The event will also feature live entertainment and workshops.
Get your camera ready. The Silver City's premier film festival is almost here. Celebrating the area's rich cinema history, one of the reasons it was established here.
I rang the council and I said, how do you guys feel about us coming up there and, establishing a film festival and celebrating, Broken Hill's rich cinematic culture? And they loved the idea.
The weekend gets underway on Friday, April 9th, with a screening of the film The Drover's Wife, written and directed by Leah Purcell.
That film is amazing. The Drover's Wife, we're lucky to see it before its commercial release. It's not released till May, so you have to book tickets, but it is still free.
Local filmmaker Jason King will be one to watch this year. His film Small Change took out first place last year. But the event always unearths some new talent.
There's also some good filmmakers up there, so good storytellers. So we every year we find a new surprise that Broken Hill offers up.
Guest judges have yet to be finalised, with 2 names being thrown around.
Well, at this stage, Michaela Bannis and Toby Truslove look like they're going to come up. Toby's just starring in this new La Brea, this big American show called La Brea, which has just hit Channel 9, I think.
For more details, check the event's website. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Our cricket experts will share their tips for weekend grand finals. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. This weekend we'll see more cricket seasons wrap up in tight grand finals. Here are our experts with their tips.
G'day and welcome to the grand final edition of Port Augusta Cricket Tips. The grand final this week will see South Augusta take on Central Stirling. South Augusta went straight through after beating Corn, while Central Stirling have done it the hard way, coming from the elimination final to beat West Augusta and then Corn. This is going to be the 3rd match in a row. Well, I'm going to lean towards South Augusta just to edge out Central Stirling.
Hello and welcome to grand final week of the Whyalla Cricket Association. We see top of the table North Whyalla taking on the Roosters in Centrals. It's the rematch of last year's grand final. I think it's going to be a really tight tussle. Scott Collison's going to be really up for the fight, and Lockie Coombs is going to be thereabouts as well. I think I'm going to take North Whyalla this week just because they've had such a strong season, but you can never discount Centrals.
Welcome to this week's Port Lincoln Cricket Tips. Firstly, we'll start off with last weekend's Colts result, and congratulations to Todd River Cricket Club, who went back to back to back and claimed the Colts premiership here in Port Lincoln. On to this week's games of cricket. Southern Air vs Charlton at Centenary Oval Saturday. 2 teams coming off very low scores with a bat. Southern Air were bundled out for just 40 against Tasmans, and Charlton got the job done 8 down, chasing 97. Southern Air, I reckon, are going to bounce back here and go through to another grand final against Tasmans in the following week. Thanks for listening to the Port Lincoln Cricket Tips.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and good evening, everyone. Plenty of sunny conditions across our region today. Not bad for the last day of election campaigning. From 3 p.m, Port Augusta reached a high of 32, Cleve was 24, and Cooper Pedy got to a max of 36. Looking further out now, Port Pirie was 34 degrees, Whyalla 27. It was a degree warmer in Adelaide, 28 there, 24 in Kadina. Port Lincoln was 22, Woodner was 31, and jumping over the border, Broken Hill reached 29 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, cloud in a trough is causing showers and storms along the centres in South South Australia, clear elsewhere with a dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southerly winds 15 to 20 knots, seas between 1 and 2 metres, and south to southwesterly swell at 1 metre. And no warnings were issued this evening for the region. Mostly sunny in Port Lincoln, 27. Cleve, mostly sunny and humid, set to reach 32 degrees there. Similar in Woodnut with 36. More humid conditions for our Spencer Gulf towns, while a max of 31. Port Augusta set to reach a high of 35. Kadina to top 32. Port Pirie set for 34. Clare mostly sunny 32. And it'll be sunny in Broken Hill with a max of 31 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, mostly sunny conditions across the region. Temperatures in the 30s except for Port Lincoln with 24 and Whyalla 29. Broken Hill sunny and 32. Adelaide to reach 30 degrees. Warming up slightly on Monday. Whyalla and Kadina both 33 and mostly sunny. Port Augusta and Woodnut 37. Cooper Pedy with the region's top of 38 and 34 and sunny in Broken Hill. Some rain on the way for those southeastern parts on Tuesday. 26 in Adelaide, a degree warmer in Kadina. Port Lincoln set to reach 23 degrees. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. Wishing all residents and local candidates luck in tomorrow's election. I'll see you soon with an update, but until then, it's back to you, Ruby.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Friday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll be back with updates later on. Have a lovely weekend. Good night.